4, 3.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the MTSU Finance and Personnel Committee. I'm Pete DeLay, Chair of the committee. I appreciate the trustees, MTSU staff, and those attending in person and virtually for joining us today. Dr. McPhee, do you have any opening remarks?
No comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much.
If we could begin, James, by calling our roll.
Yes. Trustee Baker,
Here.
Trustee Boyd,
Present.
Trustee Cottle.
Present.
Trustee Cottle, because you are participating in this meeting electronically, in accordance with TCA 8-44-108C3, there are two questions that you will need to answer for the record. First, are you able to hear me and the other trustees clearly so that you can participate in this meeting?
Yes.
Second, are there any other individuals in the room with you?
No.
The minutes will reflect that Trustee Cottle is able to hear those present in this room, that no one is present with him. Chair DeLay,
Present.
Trustee Jones,
Present.
Chair Smith,
Present.
Vice Chair Carboyak,
Present.
Trustee Wright,
Present.
Trustee Carpenter.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. Today's meeting is a very busy meeting of our Finance and Personnel Committee, and we have 8 action items. To make sure we are able to stay efficient with our working through our items, we will, as we present the material, we will then call for a motion, second, and then we'll have discussion after our motions and seconds. Our first action item today is the approval of the minutes from the committee meeting held March 14th, 2023. The minutes from that meeting are behind tab 1 of your meeting materials. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the March 14th meeting?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion? If no discussion, please call the roll, James.
Trustee Baker,
Approve.
Trustee Boyd,
Approve.
Trustee Cottle,
Approved.
Chair DeLay,
Approve.
Trustee Jones,
Approve.
Chair Smith,
Approve.
Vice Chair Carboyak,
Approved.
Trustee Wright.
Approved.
The motion carries.
Thank you, sir. The next action item is behind tab 2 of the meeting materials, and it's the recommendation for approval of the revisions to policy 641, student fees, incidental charges, and refunds. Alan Thompson will explain the proposed changes.
Thank you, Chairman DeLay and committee members. This is just a couple of cleanup changes in the policy itself. It doesn't change. It is not a recommendation on tuition and fees, which will be later in the agenda. The two changes relate to, the first one is the Regional Scholars Program, which is the discounted rate for our border states and a small other area around us. So that calculation in the past under TBR was being recalculated every year based on a little complex formula. And all our other fees are pretty much, you take last year's rate. If you approve a 3% increase, you add 3% to that rate and move on. And that's what we're recommending here, is we just start doing that same process for this fee. The second revision is related to the E-rate. The E-rate is eligible for any student taking all online courses. And the terminology in the policy pretty much says online courses, which, if you look at that, means the ones that have been truly vetted through the online process. And we have courses that are also remote courses where they're taught over a platform that is similar to online. So we're updating the policy to say remote delivery courses there. That's a small number of courses that are still done that way. Most of those remote courses will come up for an online review and be termed online at a future date. So just clean up in there for those two areas and be glad to answer any questions.
Is there a motion to approve the proposed revisions to policy 641?
So moved.
Second. Given that we have a remote member, may we please call the roll?
Trustee Baker,
Approve.
Trustee Boyd,
Approved.
Trustee Cottle,
Approve.
Chair Delay,
Approve.
Trustee Jones,
Approve.
Chair Smith,
Approve.
Trustee Carboyak,
Approved.
Trustee Wright.
Approved.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Our next action item is located behind tab 3, and it's a recommendation of the approval of the 2024-2025 capital outlay request. Bill Waits will present this agenda item.
Thank you, Trustee DeLay. I have two items of business for you all today. The first item is an action item for the 24-25 capital outlay budget request. It's behind tab number 3 or page 37 of your materials. The proposed capital outlay project for 24-25 is a new academic building that was approved last year by the MTSU Board of Trustees before we switched courses to request additional funding needed to cover construction escalation for the applied engineering building. I'm certainly glad to report that funding was received, and in July we'll have access to those funds on the applied engineering building and get moving forward. On this proposal, the new academic building, which is also known as the Liberal Arts Archives and Museum Building, provides approximately 130,000 gross square feet that includes the following academic departments and units: history, political science and international relations, sociology and anthropology, global studies and human geography, and the Center for Historic Preservation. Of these academic departments, there are 17 associated degree programs, and these units directly serve 500 students. It's also important to note that these programs support all majors on campus, and this project would be especially important because most of these programs serve a large number of freshmen and sophomore students of all majors campus-wide. In addition to and in partnership with these academic uses, the proposed facility contains exhibit, research, office, and support space for a new Center for Innovation and Leadership, museum and exhibit space, and historical archives. The heart of these program functions will be extensive campus and community outreach, scholarly initiatives that engage multiple aspects of teaching and research. The proposed site, and this is on page 39 of your materials if you'd like to look at the diagram, is located on the north end of the East Quad. This site is directly east across the quad from the academic classroom building that houses behavioral health and sciences, and directly north and across MTSU Boulevard from the student union. A liberal arts building project is included as a highest priority project in the MTSU 2016 Campus Master Plan. This project has an estimated total project cost of $99.5 million with the required university match component right under $8 million. This request is due at the end of July to the Higher Education Commission. I know I've kind of gone through this fairly quickly, so certainly any questions you all may have, please ask.
So is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? With no discussion, James, may we please call the roll?
Trustee Baker,
Approve.
Trustee Boyd,
Approve.
Trustee Cottle,
Approve.
Chair Delay,
Approve.
Trustee Jones,
Approve.
Chair Smith,
Approve.
Vice Chair Carboyak,
Approved.
Trustee Wright.
Approved.
The motion carries.
Thank you. The next
Question.
Yes, sir.
Is this our largest request?
Largest request ever for an outlay project? No, sir.
Per building?
Yes, sir.
Science building was.
Science building was.
Yeah, the science building, I think, if I remember correctly, was about $140 million.
Okay.
And if that was inflation adjusted, it would probably be well over $200 million, $250
Holy
million.
smoke. Okay.
The next agenda item is behind tab 4 and will also be presented by Bill, which is the approval of the 2024-25 capital disclosures.
Thank you, Trustee Delay. So this action, again, is an action item requiring a Board of Trustee vote for approval for the capital project disclosures located on page 41 of your materials. Just as a quick summary, a reminder, a capital project disclosure to the Higher Education Commission is the first step required for a project approval and indicates that an institution is considering a project investment but doesn't obligate the university to carry out the work. Disclosures are active for a 2-year period before they are removed from the THEC capital disclosure list. The table on page 43 of your materials lists the proposed 24-25 capital project disclosures, and there are 5. The first one on the list is an exciting project. It's a P3 student housing development that will provide new student housing with approximately 700 beds, be located at the current site of the Womack Lane Housing Complex, which is on the southeast corner of campus along Alumni Drive.
Define P3, just.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Everybody's on the same page.
The project will use a public-private partnership delivery with the selected developer responsible for all development costs. And this has been a fairly, I would say in Tennessee, a new project delivery method where we'll leverage kind of partnership with private development partners to carry out the work. Of course, we've talked about the hotel project in the board, so this will be a similar delivery project. The second project on the list is a Student Athlete Enhancement Center addition, and it will provide addition and renovation to the current Student Athlete Enhancement Center located on the south side of Floyd Stadium. And this project is to provide needed additional space to alleviate current overcrowding in the facility. The third project is an EV charging stations project, and this will allow for needed expansion of available electric vehicle charging stations on campus, and there are currently only 2, so we have a fairly big deficit with those available charging stations. Certainly demand will grow as time goes on. Fourth item is a new parking structure, and this will allow for the addition of a new parking garage if needed to support the new P3 student housing development and continued development to the East Quad. Of course, this is Applied Engineering Building. It's going to be located on the south end of the East Quad. The new School of Concrete and Construction Management is right there on that end of campus too. And then lastly is the Recreation Center renovations. This work includes entrance modifications and site improvements to coordinate with the proposed P3 student housing development, which will be located directly to the south of the rec center. Also included are renovations to building systems in the rec center, including HVAC systems that need to have some maintenance work and some replacement air handlers and other equipment to make sure the building will continue to operate efficiently. On page 44 of materials is the full MTSU disclosure list. So if these were all to be approved today, this is what the list will look like once those disclosures become active, along with all the other ones that are already on the list in July 2024. Again, certainly if there's any questions you all may have, please ask.
Is there a motion to approve the 2024-25 capital disclosures?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Bill, are the ones that you list on page 43 or in any kind of order of priority or just randomly listed?
No, ma'am. I think let me turn over here. I think they may be listed when they were submitted, so FY 23, 24 first, and then work its way down. But there is no prioritization in the list.
Okay.
That's just kind of the way they remain on the list.
Any other discussion or questions?
Bill, student housing development, Is there a timeline for an RFP, or what's the process, I guess?
Yes, sir. So we're trying to start the process right now with a consultant. We have disclosed, certainly on this one, we need to get this disclosure in place and next July before we can issue the RFP. So I would say July, as soon as we can issue the RFP in July is when we'll want to go forward with that.
July 2024?
Yes, sir.
July.
Yes, sir.
This is these partnerships have gone on across the country for decades, so it's unusual for Tennessee, but not for other states.
That's absolutely correct, and especially with student housing, I would say certainly decades, maybe even more. All of our neighboring states, pretty much, I would say the overwhelming majority of the dormitories built in higher education have been public-private delivery methods.
Other questions or comments? If not, James, may we please call for a vote?
Trustee Baker,
Approve.
Trustee Boyd,
Approve.
Trustee Cottle,
Approve.
Chair Delay,
Approve.
Trustee Jones,
Approve.
Chair Smith,
Approve.
Vice Chair Carboyak,
Approved.
Trustee Wright.
Approved.
The motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. The next action item is located behind tab 5, and it's a recommendation of approval for the 2024-25 capital maintenance projects submittal. Joe Whitefield will present this information. Hello, Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. Good morning, trustees. You do have in your packet the information as we're seeking your consideration and approval for the fiscal year 24-25 capital maintenance project request that we're to submit to THEC in accordance with their instructions. Have a few items for your information, your consideration. On page 47, we have the maintenance pool and allocation. This is the THEC formula and the allocation for all the institutions, all the higher ed institutions. And you can see MTSU's 7% is our prorated share of the capital maintenance request to go forward. This year, they're anticipating a $250 million total request. Of that, $17.4 million is the amount set aside for us to develop projects. At the bottom of the page, you'll see a little history in terms of the projects, the amount and the number of projects that we've received funding for over the last few years. And I think that's important to note. One item of note is in fiscal year 23-24, this time last year, we were presenting $15.8 million of projects, and you can see that we received $5 million, or approximately a little less than a third of that. So I think the strategy involved with developing capital maintenance projects with uncertain funding, I think you'll see in the list of projects that we present. I wanted to point that out to you. On page 49 begins the list. It's actually 2 pages, the list of projects for 24-25, and they are in a priority order, and that's important because if the funding doesn't come in, then you work your way up from the bottom and you end up with your higher priorities. And so they are in priority order. We have 13 projects this year totaling the $17.4 million. It's really 8 projects, but 5 of them have been split into phases so that we can get, if we only receive partial funding, we would like to receive funding for certain disciplines. Let's say we got half the funding, we would like to be able to get some funding for certain disciplines to reach our highest priority needs on campus. And so you'll see a lot of phase 1, phase 2, that type of thing in the presentation of the projects for 24-25. They are listed again at $17.4 million. And then beyond that, and that's the list seeking your approval. Beyond that, we have 4 additional out years of projects that are or potential projects showing you our identification, our crystal ball for future needs and how we would systematically approach this on campus. And that goes through fiscal year 28-29. And then beginning on page 59 in the materials, I believe, we have our actual project, a couple of pages for each project for this year that are being submitted. So if you need a little bit more detail on the individual projects, there's some detail on those individual 13 projects that are going forward. So that's what's in your packet, and I'll end there.
Thank you, Joe. Is there a motion to approve the 2024-25 capital maintenance project submittal?
Approved.
Second.
Is there discussion?
Who seconded that? I'm sorry.
Just
I believe,
Lubricant.
Vice Chairman Carboyak.
All right, thank you.
Joe,
That was me, but that's fine.
Yes.
It doesn't-
is when you, let's say they approve
Do you not want?
$5 million again, whatever the number is, do you have to apply them toward the priorities, or can you say, well, we've got $5 million, but this priority we thought was a 5 is really a 1 now? Can you adjust those as time, once the money's approved, if some priority goes up the list?
Historically, the list is the list. However, if we have a situation where something has changed, priority number 5 became a top priority, we would certainly make that request. And a few years ago, we were able to do that. We were able to move something around. But the last couple of years, it's been pretty much, the list has been sort of, perforated and torn off at project number 3 or project number 4 or wherever it might be. But we certainly make that request if our needs changed.
Tom, to your point, though, that if something doesn't get funded on the list, next year's list is not automatically just rolled forward. In other words, they reprioritize every year based on
Absolutely.
what needs.
That's right.
to be. Chairman Smith, I believe you had a question.
Well, I'm looking at the obvious, and that is, nobody gets what they apply for, and the people that apply for the most get the most. So why didn't we apply for 29 million?
The formulas, the prorated formulas are based on THEC formula, and I've actually brought the page with me this year. So it's a fundamental approach using what they call the Sherman-Durgis formula, and it looks at the current replacement value of your buildings, the asset value of the total buildings that you have in your inventory, and it looks at the age of the buildings. And so it's prorated based on that. So the older buildings that you have, then the more you're supposed to receive. At least the formula will spit out for receiving some funding for the capital maintenance of older buildings. We've been blessed in a way to get new buildings. As we look at the outlays and things like that, as we've got new buildings, that tends to bring our weighted average age down. And so that's both, it's very important, and we're happy to get those buildings. But relative to the formula, it doesn't help because your newer buildings don't age the way a 60-year-old science building would be compared to a 9-year-old science building.
So THEC is one that picks out 17.4 for us.
Yes, sir.
We didn't do that.
We didn't do that.
Got it?
Other questions? More discussion? If not, James, can we please call the vote?
Yes. Trustee Baker,
Approve.
Trustee Boyd,
Approve.
Trustee Cottle,
Approve.
Trustee DeLay,
Approve.
Trustee Jones,
Approve.
Chair Smith,
Approved.
Vice Chair Carboyak,
Approved.
Trustee Wright.
Approved.
The motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. The next action item is located behind tab number 5, and it's a recommendation of approval for the proposed 2023-24 tuition, fees, and housing rates. Alan Thomas will present this information.
Tab 7.
Tab 6.
Tab 6.
I'm sorry, tab 6. I said tab 5. Misspoke.
Okay. Thank you once again, and you'll see I don't have a lifeline to do this section, so you have me back once again, and just so you know, you'll have me back again before the end of the agenda. So, behind tab 6, this is our annual review of the university's tuition and fee rates. Tennessee Higher Education Commission, THEC, approved keeping the ranges at 0 to 3% at their May 11th meeting. They did provide the THEC, the commission members, options this year that could have increased that range or somewhere between 3 and 5.5. But commission voted and they left it at 0 to 3, which is what we had been working from since last November. In your materials, you'll see the university is recommending a 2.6% increase in tuition rates, which begins on page 88. The following pages after that show our historical increases compared to other public institutions over the past 10 years, as well as the impact of each of our tuition rates. And you'll see this starting on page 89 and goes through 92. Next is a summary of our mandatory fee increases, and these start on, or the summary is on page 93. And then behind that, on pages 94 through 99, you will see more details about each of these fees. And these consist of our parking fee, health services, recreation center, and so forth. You'll see a list. I think the list on page 93 gives you a glimpse at all the fees that are increasing and what they are today. On page 100, you will see the projected impact of all of these increases based on a 15-hour enrollment for both fall and spring semesters, along with the overall increase percentage for both tuition and mandatory fees. This is kind of our compliance checklist to make sure that we are within the 0 to 3% tuition range and the 0 to 3% tuition and mandatory fee range. So that is the calculation that we go for when we're trying to make sure we're in compliance with THEC. So as you see, the tuition increase is 2.6 when you add in the mandatory fees. It brings the overall increase to 2.5%, which is below the maximum of 3%. Next, on page 102 and 103, you will see proposed housing rates for 2023-24. As you can see, there's a graph there that shows our modest increases over the last few years. The increase here is a 3% increase on all the rates, very consistent with what we've done in the past as we analyze the rates that we have here on campus, also taking into consideration rates on the border of our campus. So revenue projected from all of these increases is on page 105, so you'll see a total of $4.6 million that new revenue would generate. This is approximately 1% of the university's overall budget, so $4.6 million in total. And lastly, as a reminder, state law requires the university to post these tuition and fee increases online for 15 days to receive public comment. So this is prior to the full board voting on these fees. So whatever recommendation comes out of this committee will be put online for the 15 days. Those comments then will be provided to each of the board members before the June 20th meeting. So, and that is all for my presentation. Be glad to answer any questions.
May I ask for a motion to approve the 2023-24 tuition fees and housing rates?
I move to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion?
I got a couple of questions, Ellen. And I should have asked this earlier. What is the international fee?
That is a fee that all our students pay. It was, I think, started with TB when we were under TBR, and it supports our study abroad programs and our international scholarships for international students.
And I'm sure we've got a full range of how you apply for that and who awards that and all that.
Yes, sir.
The next question I've got, if we can go to 3%, how many points or how many dollars are available in mandatory fee requests?
So on the mandatory fees, well, if you look at tuition and mandatory fees, we're at 2.5%. So there is you could go up another $23, I think is the range, and that would make our overall increase 2.98%. So that's the difference of where we are and then going to the top of the range.
That would still keep us within the range that we've been offered.
Right.
The overall number as proposed is only a 1% increase on our overall budget. We know the inflationary times we're living in today.
And the 23 is a per semester, so if you do an annual, that would be 46 on an annual basis.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to amend my motion and increase the athletics fee from 23 to whatever, from 15 to whatever 23 and 15 is, 38.
So we have a motion to amend that fee, the athletic fee, by another $23 increase. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second, that's per semester,
Per
correct?
semester.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to hear from Andrew on kind of his feeling on how the student population thinks of fees and how they feel about costs generally. And particularly, I guess, when I hear that, my concern is if it's athletics, as much as many people support athletics, many don't, and that's really my concern about it being an athletic fee. So I don't want to put you on the spot, but
Absolutely.
like to
I
hear how
appreciate it.
you think that would.
Yeah, I thank you. Certainly, raising the athletic fee could pose some potential issues for attendance, in my opinion. I do think that we already regularly talk about the attendance at sporting events, so raising that fee could be a deterrence for additional attendance in terms of student population.
So we're not talking about tuition here, we're talking about fees, and they get lumped together, right? Would the reaction from students be similar if the $23 increase were attached to a tuition increase, which could then be used to support faculty? Salaries, things like that we know are already a significant challenge at the university level? How would a student react? Fees, especially for athletics, versus tuition?
That's a great question. I think that, posing it as something that could be tied into academics rather, that's in the classroom. Students may see more of a value there, considering it's their education, whereas some, we already have identified, not everyone attends the sporting events, so some would be maybe more willing to pay that fee for class as opposed to for sporting events.
And under the current ranges, and this is where it gets a little confusing, there's a 0 to 3% on tuition, and then there's a 0 to 3% range on tuition plus mandatory fees. So on the tuition side, I think there's one more dollar we could go up
I see.
on tuition, and we would be at 2.8 something, and the next dollar throws you over the range. So it's, and the reason that percentage goes down when you go from tuition to tuition plus mandatory fees is your tuition number's a lot larger than your mandatory fees, so it brings that percentage down and gives you a little more room for growth on that side. So there's not any growth on the tuition.
So my question would be, and I mean this respectfully, is there a need for additional funding in that pool of money, in that pool of money and the athletic fee? And what would be the rationale to explain to a student why that fee was increased? Because this is all public disclosure, public conversation.
Sure.
And so is there a perceived need for that particular fee to be increased versus something else?
In the materials, you've got the $15. You've got the $15 that the university put in.
Right.
That's already there. That was based on the need for the Student Athlete Performance Center, because when we were doing the financial pro forma on that project, interest rates were hovering around 3%.
Right.
And
Not
by the
there no
time,
more.
right, by the time we went to bond, those had gone up. So that's what that is based on.
You bonded it north of 5%.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
So
that 15 is what that is for.
the
The
15.
23, if I might speak to that, we've got it's for sticks and bricks. And we've got a building program that we've funded about 60% of. And we've raised nearly twice as much as we agreed to raise in order for the state to let us bond. And the 23 is needed in order to come even close to finishing the performance center. Because the money we've raised is about 2/3. You can correct me, about 2/3 of what we need to do it. So it's mandatory if we want to finish our athletic facilities, or it's necessary. And I give you an interesting one that's an oxymoron. Motlow, you can go for nothing. And their enrollment went down 20-something%. So we got the lowest fees. You can look on here compared to, we're down at the bottom on what our tuition and fees are. Or we're less than, we're way past. What it costs, there's some number, but what it costs to go here isn't a big influencer on who comes here. Because like I say, you can go to Motlow for nothing, and they went down. So I don't think it can affect, would affect enrollment. It's necessary if we want to finish our athletic stuff. And if we don't finish our athletic stuff, I think that will affect enrollment. And we get a lot of positive, it's the window.
Yeah.
So that's my, but the fee would be to the Bill Blue Sticks and Bricks. It's not for more coaches.
And I think, if I understand correctly, Pete, that this is would be the top item on our capital disclosure list, the addition and renovations to the Murphy Center. And the Murphy Center is 50 years old. So it is getting a little worn, first of all. And if we look back, I think at the use of the Murphy Center, I don't know how many graduations we had there. I know the university had 4. I don't know how many high schools, but there are multiple ones per day. So it has and we've had concerts. It has a much broader use than, quote, athletics. Now,
Is this funding, can that be used for the Murphy Center? I mean, because what I would hate to do is say that we just arbitrarily identified, we can go up to 3%. We're going to tack on another $23 a semester for the athletic fee without articulating, as Chairman Smith has now articulated, there are some gaps that we have to fill. So I think it's important to explain, it's not just an arbitrary decision because we had a gap between 2.5 and 2.9 on the fee section. So I think it's important to be able to document why we think that's important and what it is that the board is actually voting on.
The next phase of athletic improvements is Murphy Center.
And part of that, if I remember correctly, is putting in escalators as part of that renovation. Is that correct, Alan?
Yes.
Today we have one elevator.
Right.
So if you're handicapped or whatever, or you're going to graduation, you got a bunch of old people like me trying to get on one elevator, doesn't know where it is, that's an issue in and of itself. So it's to build out, again, if I understand, a new entrance, a more accessible entrance instead of those gazillion steps to go up. It's a ramp-type entrance that would aid.
Yep.
So it is athletics, but it's also, that building is used for many, many purposes on campus. And that, as I understand it, is where this fee would begin. And it doesn't get us all the way there, even with the increase, but it gets us a start to get there.
For instance, to get a big-name entertainer, we got to have more loading docks. Athletics doesn't need more loading docks.
But the funding comes out of that particular
That's right.
bucket, is what you're saying. So I think that's just important to specify for the record, so that it's not perceived as simply an arbitrary, we can go up to this number, so therefore we're going to plug a number.
Right.
There's really an intentional thought process here that says, here is a gap and we need to fill that gap, and even with this number, we're still not where we need to be. Would that be an accurate?
That's 100% correct.
And I just,
And I believe what Alan said also, I apologize, what Alan said also about the change in interest rates from the time where all these budgets were calculated to where we really wound up settling when we bonded. We were in the threes when we were anticipating all this, and we bonded it north of 5.
Right, and that 15 covers that, and that was the thing we were trying to do. As you heard from Lee DeLeon earlier on athletics and Bill Blue, we're within budget on that building, and we're moving forward on that project. So the next projects would be the ones on the capital disclosure list, Murphy Center.
and I just want to say my reaction is that sounds a little contradictory to me for us to say, we have this great momentum going on Bill Blue, we're successful, we're doing great, but yet we're increasing a student fee because we're maybe not doing as great as we say we are. I don't know, it just sounds contradictory to me.
Well, we need about 50 million additional.
I understand.
And we've never raised 20 before. Think about this, in Murphy Center, there wasn't one gift dollar either. It was all student fees. The football stadium, there was no money raised for the football stadium. Now, we got $1 million gift from an insurance that helped make it really nice in the seats. But money in the football stadium is 100% student fees. Murphy Center, 100% student fees. So this is the only project we've ever had where you had a significant amount of it invested by investors.
So can I just
Like you.
address, I think it's a very important point that Trustee Wright is specifying, but I think the explanation to the potential contradictory view is when the Build Blue and the initiative for this project, when they were envisioned and the goals were set, we were in a different inflationary level. And what's happened is, and then there were expectations. So when final numbers were put together, yes, we built in a cushion for inflation, but nobody could have predicted at the time that inflation was going to be as dramatic as it has been. And so while the Build Blue campaign has exceeded initial expectations, given the economic environment in which we are operating, it wasn't enough. I mean, would that be an accurate statement?
That's accurate, and the interest is double. Not quite, but
No, but
it's gone from 3.3 to
Well,
6.
every quarter, you're looking at, 0.5%, 75, 0.75% increase, and that's been going on for 2 years.
On our academic building last year that got approved, we had to submit a supplemental for an additional $25 million to complete the building that was under contract that we were in the process of building because of inflationary pressures.
And I
We've locked in
understand
the
and
initial
agree,
I mean, that to
I'm
me
not
is-
sure that students can appreciate that argument. That's,
But I think that it's that's a
Yeah.
really good point that you raised, and I think just for the board to be aligned with, how do those two presentations jive? And frankly, it's unprecedented economic times, well, maybe not unprecedented if you grew up during the Carter administration as well, when, interest rates were crazy and mortgage rates were at 18%, because I had one of those.
Yeah.
But I think
In,
it's still,
yeah.
in my role as the faculty rep and and I have to come down on the side of the students. It's going to be difficult for me to look at a student or a faculty member and say that we're going to raise the fees. While I understand, I'm the faculty athletic rep as well, and I love athletics. But it'll be kind of hard for me to look them in the eye, even though there's logic for it. They're going to say that, I'm under harsh economic times as well, trying to make my tuition. And I just wanted to make that point. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it, but that's going to be a little harder to explain to a student and a faculty member as well that are supporting the students.
And particularly those that aren't very involved in athletics. That's a big concern of mine. And Alan, if I may just ask one more question.
Yes.
You did the comparison. I know it's such a small amount of money. How does that raise with other LGIs, raise the comparison? I know that's
Since these were based on last year's rates and everybody's in
Oh,
the
we don't
process
know.
of submitting this year's
course.
rates, we don't know.
We don't know.
We've heard some saying not going up on tuition. Some of the bigger institutions, larger institutions in the state. A majority of the LGIs are doing something. But I think we're one of the first that's having our meeting to get our recommendation going. Of course, everybody will have to do it before August, but, yeah.
I also think an important consideration for us as a board, as we talk about finances, is the efficiency of how we spend money versus others. At the beginning of your booklets, you've got a packet, and there's a tab there that's academics versus administrative costs. I'd like to point out that our administrative costs here at this university are lower than all of our peer institutions as a percentage of our budget, which I think is important. What that means is the money that we are charging, the money that we have is going into our programs, and our academic as a percentage of our budget is at the top among our peers. I think that slide in the beginning of your handout underscores the value of what this university offers relative to the value that other universities offer.
Dr. McCree and the people that run the school should get a merit badge for that.
Absolutely.
That should be maybe the number one goal, is to have less administration and more boots on the ground, and we're doing that.
So part of that goes to, the experience of the students. At this point, we have a motion on the floor to raise that fee $23 per semester. Happy to continue discussing, or if we'd like, I'm happy to call a vote. Is there more discussion on that topic?
I just go back to the Murphy Center point. It is such a key component of 50 years of age, and there is a fact that we are trying in the entertainment music department to bring other acts similar to the Judds here. Now, that has got nothing to do with athletics. So I think we've kind of put an A before things, and it's not really true. We're behind. If you go to some other universities and visit their gymnasiums or entertainment centers, we're just behind as a university. That's a common statement. So I think we just got to move ahead in a multi-purposed environment, not just with the A attached to it.
Yeah, and I certainly wouldn't disagree with that. I just am concerned about the student perception. That's
legitimate.
Could we market it? Could we market it more as multi-purpose, like Trustee Baker said? I think that from a student perspective, I think hearing that it's not just athletics, it also goes towards a potential academic, support, the graduation, other events like that. I think could make it a softer blow hearing that the fees going up.
I may have missed the comment on Murphy Center a little earlier. Is that possible to do in what Joe Whitefield was talking about a few minutes ago in the capital maintenance budget? Is that possible?
Well, the capital maintenance projects that we received last year, a phase 1 and a phase 2, both of those went toward Murphy Center. And then if you remember, 2 or 3 years ago, we got money for the windows in Murphy Center. So we are doing that because it is not strictly an athletic venue. We are trying to address it through capital maintenance when it fits.
Also, then, y'all already
Thank
know
you.
this, but I'm just going to make this point. Fees don't only go up, sometimes fees go down. For example, this year in what's proposed by the university, our event service fee on the student union is decreasing $10 because we no longer need that to amortize the cost of that structure. So that fee has gone down. Any additional discussion?
Just one more point, and that is, I go back to the Senate President's, Faculty Senate President's presentation, and if you remember his presentation, if I remember correctly, I would like a copy of that, I thought it was excellent, is that the main driver of students coming to the MTSU is programs. I don't think cost made the top 3 in his list of his research. So I don't think in terms of research and objective view that students, at least it's not in the top 3 of what they consider. And then if they're comparing to LGIs, again, we're most competitive. And again, the handout I thought was fantastic that Alan prepared here, the state cost per grad. We're the bottom of all the Tennessee all the public Tennessee universities. So, and I suspect the private as well. So again, I think the added value for a broad beyond just obviously it's going to benefit athletics, but I think it will benefit, again, we talked about entertainment, we talked about other events that occur there, graduation and convocations are in there. And then the other, it's a recruitment tool. Now, high school kids, we've got thousands of high school kids that come over here for the TSSAA basketball tournaments every year. They come into that facility, they come onto our campus. So again, I think there's some benefit of maintaining it at a high level to continue to have those events here. So,
Is there some benefit, not necessarily for this budget cycle, but for future consideration, modifying the title of what that is? Because it's really not descriptive of what we've been talking about. It's not, I mean, when I hear the term athletic fee, I'm thinking I'm hiring more coaches.
Right.
Or I'm buying more soccer balls. I'm not thinking about the infrastructure that helps facilitate the university on a broader level. So, I mean, does it make sense at some point to think about being more accurately describing what that fee is to help with the conversation with students so that they have a better understanding of what they're paying for? Because they're not just hiring coaches, they're not just buying soccer balls, they're actually supporting the broader infrastructure of the university. That also supports things like athletics. I mean,
Great.
again, not necessarily for today's conversation,
a
but
very
for
good point.
future
Great point.
budgeting purposes. Could we consider that?
Absolutely.
How you going to handle that, Alan?
It will still, it would still be a fee. It would still be in that overall fee listing. But is there somewhere else? We'll look at that and decide,
Right.
Does it fit somewhere else and go from there and bring a recommendation back.
Alan, can this fee, the $23, be designated for Murphy Center construction? I don't know if it's construction costs, construction related, building related. Is that
I think we'd hamstring,
too much?
what
you
is
think?
Murphy Center? I mean, is it parking lot outside or?
That's a
I
good
mean,
point. Yeah,
Loading dock? I don't.
yeah. That's a
And
good
I
point.
don't think, again, I'm thinking more from the student perspective. Honestly, I don't think it'd make any difference. I don't think students that are thinking, okay, I'm here for 4 years, I'm trying to survive, get through this. I don't think they're going to be thinking, oh, well, that's okay, I'm contributing to a building that's going to be there for future generations. So
I completely.
just some
I completely
initial
understand.
thought.
I completely understand what you're saying, Pam. And for a lot of students, the fact that we've gone to be an R2 school is not important, but for some it is. And, we as a board are trying to look at the greater good. So, given that, is there additional discussion on this topic? If not, may we call the roll
Right,
on
and
the
this is-
vote,
this
which is the motion in favor of approving fees as amended with the additional $23 for the 23-24 tuition fees, housing rates.
And we'll do this as
Two-phase.
two motions.
Okay?
The first motion with the amendment to clarify, to raise the fees by $23 will be the motion to amend. And then if that's approved, we'll have the main motion.
Perfect.
Okay, so on the motion to amend, I'll call the roll. Trustee Baker,
Approve.
Trustee Boyd,
Approve.
Trustee Cottle,
Approved.
Chair Delay,
Approve.
Trustee Jones,
Approve.
Chair Smith,
Approve.
Vice Chair Carboyak,
Reluctantly approved?
Trustee Wright.
Approved.
The motion to amend carries.
Now may we move the amended motion?
On the main motion, Trustee Baker,
Approve.
Trustee Boyd,
Approve.
Trustee Cottle,
Approved.
Chair Delay,
Approve.
Trustee Jones,
Approve.
Chair Smith,
Approved.
Vice Chair Carboyak,
Approved?
Trustee Wright,
Approved.
motion carries.
Thank you. The next agenda item is located behind tab 7. I got my number right this time. And is a recommendation for the approval of the proposed 2023-24 employee compensation. Kathy Musselman will present this item.
Good morning. Today, I'm bringing to you a recommendation for salary increases for all active employees on the payroll as of June 30th, 2023. The governor's budget provided partial funding for a 5% salary pool. And as in the past years, this only represented about 60% of what it would cost to implement a 5% increase for our employees, which would be estimated about $9.4 million. So what we're recommending at this point is to use the salary funding that's being provided by the state to provide a cost of living adjustment to our employees. And the recommendation is a 3.2% COLA increase and a $1,250 minimum. So anyone that is making below, I had in the materials $31,250, but that is incorrect. It's anyone making below $39,000 and a little bit of change there. And so based on that, that is our recommendation for today. Given enrollment and other funding resources, the plan is that if there are additional resources, that we would bring additional increases to you based on market recommendations in November. But today is a recommendation for 3.2% or $1,250. Happy to answer any questions.
Is there a motion to approve the proposed 2023-24 employee compensation?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Is there discussion? I just want to make a point that you made, Kathy, and correct me if I misstate any of this. The governor's proposed budget proposes 5% increases. And in other departments, that's what other departments get, are 5% increases. And higher education, however, even though it's proposed there to be a 5% increase, that's not funded by the governor's budget. That's why we're proposing a 3.2% increase at this point that could later be supplemented or enrollment to be better, et cetera.
That is correct.
Chairman DeLay,
Yes, sir.
may I add to that point also, not only do the other agencies get the full 5%, but the last 3 to 4 years, there's been special appropriation to help the state agencies, government state agencies, to reach market. And Allen did a total. In the last, I guess, 5 years, they have allocated over $300 million for those agencies to get the employees up to market, to avoid attrition, and to be able to attract employees. That is something that I've raised in our budget hearing with the legislature. I've spoken to the governor about it, and I hope that we can get some traction on that in next year's budget.
Thank you, Dr. McPhee. Other discussion? If no other discussion, I'd like to call the motion.
Trustee Baker? Trustee Boyd?
Approve.
Trustee Cottle?
Approve.
Chair Delay?
Approve.
Trustee Jones?
Approve.
Chair Smith?
Approve.
Vice Chair Carboyak?
Approved?
Trustee Wright?
Approved.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The final action item
Before we
located.
move on, Pete, could
Yes,
I
sir. Yes, sir.
bring up one item related to this?
Absolutely, yes,
please?
sir.
I think like in most businesses, your top performing employees are the ones that are have the opportunity to go elsewhere. And with this increase, which we're not keeping up with inflation, we're not keeping up with other state employees and so forth, but there's even more pressure, I think, on our top performers. So in discussion with Alan and Dr. McPhee, I think they're both supportive of a development of a performance bonus system. And that, I think, Alan, if I remember correctly, you thought that could be developed by middle of November, a system where we could consider that for any possible increases in November and try to reward our highest performers as best we can.
Yeah, and our initial thoughts on that would be to bring back something in November to show you what we could do. Right now, we're doing the across the board for June 30, July 1. Look at enrollment, if funding's available, you know, on an ongoing basis. When you know that, won't know that till September, 14th day census. We would know how much funding's available, so you could know on a recurring basis how much you could try to address market. You could make that effective January 1. You know, you're already up into the fall semester, make that effective January 1. What that would do is that first year, you would not need full funding for that additional amount the first year because you're making it effective January 1. So that leaves you some non-recurring one-time money that then you could develop and a merit bonus structure from that as bonus structure. That's one thing we're looking at. We're looking at many other, you know, what plans are out there. Some state departments have some plans, so we're kind of in that exploratory right now to see what's available, and then we would have to stand that up, yeah, on campus with our evaluation system, you know, and everything that goes with that to be able to award those merit bonuses.
Well, Alan, Provost Burns said a little bit earlier that we're at 52%, or little more than half of our professors are tenured. That promotion and tenure process right now is a version of merit pay.
Correct.
Because the people that are on that tenure track, they're being evaluated, and they're high performers that are getting promoted from assistant professor to associate professor, and there's a compensation that goes along with that. There's a certain amount of compensation, and then going from an associate, and this whole process takes about 10 years to go through, and you're on that performance clock. And once you get to the full professor point, the way I kind of see it is that's the only hole that we really have in our merit pay, is once you become professor, there's really not another level that you can go to. But the biggest problem I see in the part of the compensation right now, it's a conversation that Alan and I and Dr. McPhee have had for a long time, is, getting everybody, even the staff, up to equity pay before we can, it's not before we implement the merit pay, but it's to make the merit pay much more effective, I think. So that's just my 2 cents from the faculty standpoint.
And
Mr.
you'll-
Chairman,
you'll never
I would
get,
add-
go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, Alan. I would add to Trustee Caudle's point. We are actually looking at a recommendation coming from the Faculty Senate to begin to increase the promotional raises from assistant to associate and associate to full. So I think with that and the availability of funds, we certainly can enhance our merit plan for faculty and staff.
Well, there's one other way that you're full. I know people don't like to call them full professors. Another way your full professors are compensated, or your really high performing full professors are compensated, is through research and through grants. They're able to secure some more funding. So the really high performing ones are getting those grants. Now, there's some areas that grants are not available for research, and even though they're high performing, that may be an area to look at. Even though they're high performing, there may not be grants available for them. And so we could look at something like that, I think. I think that would be beneficial.
And what I was going to say is, you'll notice each year in the budget, we put anywhere from $400,000 to $500,000, $400,000 to $500,000 in the budget each year for faculty promotions. And that's where that funding goes, is to bring those professors through the different levels.
Yeah, and in order to go through those levels, take it from me, I went through it. You got to be high performing to get through those levels. One of my good friends here on campus told me, he said, "You think graduate school is hard? Wait till you get on tenure track. Then you're really going to have to bust your tail." So that's the high performing folks.
So, Alan, to try to understand a little bit, let's say you've got, as an example, an assistant professor out there that's really just knocking it out of the ballpark, doing a great job, and XYZ University comes to knocking at his door to hire him or her. So in order for him to get a merit increase, you either have to match what he's doing, because now somebody's knocking at his door, or he has to be promoted. Is that a correct understanding?
Well, Dr. McPhee may want to talk to that, because he does approve those when they're needed. And it doesn't always mean you have to go to the full, what they're being offered somewhere else. So, and he goes through those negotiations with the provost, of course, and he may want to talk about that for a minute.
Yes, and so, question, Trustee Boyd is correct. We do retain a good bit of our top performers who come with an offer. We call it a counter offer for those high performers, but it's either that right now or the promotional assistant professor to associate to full.
So I guess what I'm asking for this performance or merit bonus system is, instead of maybe it's not time for the promotion, or there's not somebody yet knocking on that professor's door, but we know they're knocking it out of the park, and there will be. So this gives, in my mind anyway, an opportunity to reward that professor, assistant professor, whatever their title is at that point, to show, hey, we really think you're doing a great job. We're giving you this performance merit reward for the great job. And I think a lot of times just kind of getting that little bit of compensation, pat on the back, is an incentive for folks. Hey, they really think a lot of me. I'm going to, no matter XYZ comes knocking at the door, I think they really think a lot of me at MTSU, so I'm going to hang in here, and I'll probably get promoted in a year or two or whatever it is. So
I concur with that, and you and I have discussed that. Now, obviously, you've seen our budget, and from going to zero tuition increase to the limitations with inflation, we also have a responsibility to make sure that our faculty and staff, at least their salaries, deal with the cost of living. And so it is our hope that when we're able to address some of these issues, that we can go full to merit to accommodate exactly what you're saying. We're not against merit. We're just saying that we want to focus on raising the salary levels of our employees. It doesn't mean we have to bring it up to market, but I think we need to, the 2% and 3% that we're getting is really not significant at this point.
Well, I think, if I recall, a couple of years ago, we did do a market adjustment. Now, inflation took off after that, unfortunately, so we got knocked behind again. So, but again, that's why I think we approved the 2.6. I'm not saying that gets us to market, nor does that get us to what inflation is, but we did do it across the board. So I think there's, again, maybe there's some room in here to do both.
Well, and what we can do is, after we implement the 3.2% across the board, we can kind of relook, and Kathy's giving me the evil eye back there. We can look to see, how that was distributed, how much market did that cover, because some of that's going to cover your gap between what you make and whatever fiscal year we're looking at, and give you that number back and say, okay, we're now closer, here's where we are. And as Dr. McPhee says, you don't get to market, because you're chasing that, you're going to be chasing that forever. But do you get closer? Yes, at some point. So we can update those numbers once we start running the payrolls in July and August, and see where we are with the market adjustment.
So Alan, in mid-November, if I understand again correct, you correct me if I'm wrong, you will have some type of plan, performance-based, merit-based, whatever you like to call it, bonus system, that if we then choose to use it, we've got at least the structure there to use it.
I think we can bring to you what we have found, and maybe a couple recommendations that, you could go one way or the other, and have something to look at. Would it be fully implemented? Maybe not, because one thing you've got to do is you've got to do your evaluations. You've got to make sure everybody's got an evaluation. There's some things in our system we need to get in place, before you would implement it, but at least we would have some plan, would know if we have funding for it and how much funding, and how much would that be. Is it employees are getting a nickel, or are they getting a $500 bonus or a $1,000 bonus, depending on your
Yeah,
fund.
that's all I'm asking is the plan.
Yes.
I'm not asking for it to be implemented.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So,
I concur with Tom, and I would urge you to, there are bound to be other universities that have this type system. And I'd like, before we get to November, I'd like to know what 2 or 22 other universities are doing, and see which, we can pick and choose what, surely they'll talk with you enough to say, this didn't work, this did work, so that.
and as Trustee Cottle mentioned too, we want to take into account faculty view, with the promotions that we have there as well. So it needs to be a plan that's all involved, and we'll look at that.
Absolutely.
And then finally, I just want to make sure that we don't leave this discussion that the university has never done merit. We have during my tenure. It is when we had the major budget cuts and we've had major issues in salaries that we went to across the board. We are very supportive of merit, but the caveat is we have to have the funds to be able to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Good discussion. The last action item today is located behind tab number 8, and it's a recommendation for the approval of the 2022-23 estimated budget and the 2023-24 July budget. Alan, please explain the July budget and then, as you present this information.
Okay. I warned you, you were getting me one last time. So as you recall from previous meetings, at this time of the year, we bring the committee two budgets. As Chairman DeLay mentioned, it's the estimated budget for the current fiscal year we're in, 22-23, and it's which we call the final budget, and it's a July budget for 23-24. And we call that an original or a base budget. So you're just setting your base for the upcoming year. There's a lot that's unknown when you're trying to set up that July budget ahead of time when there's still decisions being made. Both budgets are in your materials. Both budgets are balanced. The 2022-23 estimated budget starts on page 113, goes through 117. And it's comprised of our educational and general fund, our auxiliaries, and our restricted funds. Most of the changes you see in this budget for the estimated is related to the Higher Education Emergency Relief Funds, HERF. We have to spend those by June 30th, or some of those funds would go back to the federal government.
So we got to spend them.
Which will not happen. So all of that, yeah, all of that has been reflected in this budget, which can skew things a little bit, but everything's in there. Other changes are some reallocations between categories of expenses where we know more information now. We might have termed one thing as research earlier that really needs to be called academic support. The 23-24 July budget starts on page 118 and goes through 122. And as I said, it's the base budget for the upcoming year, so we put in there as much as we know. We did include in there the 2.6% increase you just approved for tuition and fees. We will need to make some adjustments there. The operating and salary appropriation increases are both in there, what we got for the salary pool plus what we have for operating. Expense budgets are shown as a base budget, which means there is no carry forward from the previous year. Previous year, which is right now, doesn't end until June 30. So we don't know what those carryover balances will be until October. So we will put those back in at that time, so in October. The 3.2% cost of living adjustment salary pool has been included in the salary budget line items. In the July budget, all the HERF funding has been removed because there will not be HERF funding in the new budget. So on page 123, you'll see a summary of the budget and our fund balance requirements required by the state for funding pension obligations, other post-employment benefits, and compensated absences. And you'll notice it is a balanced budget. Knowing all this, we do have a contingency plan to reduce the 23-24 budget by $5 million if needed. Of course, this is going to be, as you've heard today, dependent on fall enrollment. If that's the case and we're still going to fund salary or fully fund the 5% salary pool, $3 million of that $5 million would be reallocated from those budget cuts over to salaries to fully fund that amount. The $2 million would then be used to balance the budget if enrollment is down. So some of the budget reductions we're looking at is if we implement the entire plan would be a reduction of 21 faculty positions and 10 staff positions. It would mean fewer classes offered each semester, meaning fewer class options for students. It would have we would have fewer faculty to mentor students or larger groups of students. We have eliminated some other positions within student affairs and within ITD that would be part of that reallocation of resources. and it would affect some of our marketing and social media advertising, which is part of our retention and attracting new students. So anytime you do cut or reallocate in this case, it does have an impact to other areas of your budget. So this last piece you've already touched on slightly, Chairman DeLay, with the slides that were included in your books, but I'm going to put those up on the monitor just so you can, and they are, as I expected, a little small, so you may want to refer to the ones in your binder. So you'll see that we received the third highest state appropriations from the state. UT Knoxville and Memphis is higher than us. But you'll notice that we graduate, undergraduate, the second largest number of students. So when you factor that in, and we've looked at this analysis over the years, we educate students on a lower cost than any other institution, including LGIs and the UT Knoxville, UT system. So next slide.
Can I get you to go
Yes.
back to that last slide, because I think that's important. That last metric we're looking at there is state cost per grad. I think that aligns everything that this board and this university are trying to do, because as our graduation rates have gone up, that means our cost per grad goes down. And over the last several years, our graduation rates have gone up appreciably.
Exactly. Yes.
I just want to make
Okay.
that point.
So the next slide, which we just went over, so I won't go a lot of detail on this one, but it looks at academics. How much do we spend our budget in academics? How much do we spend on the administrative side? So as alluded to earlier, we put more into the academic side of the budget than any other institution. And we have less in our administrative budget, and not just less, pretty significantly less than other institutions. So we do, this is one of those things we do look at on an annual basis and see kind of where everybody is.
Can I share just another piece of math that everybody knows? We're looking at percentages, for example, of the academics versus budget. Our tuition is substantially lower than many of the other schools on this. So not only are we putting a bigger percentage of our budget in academics, but others are working with a much bigger amount of tuition money to start with. I think that goes to the efficiency of how the school is run.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
So I have a really dumb question. I'm sorry about this, and I apologize. Where does the other 20% go?
Between academics, you're adding academics and administration. We have operation and maintenance of plant, we have scholarships, those other additional functions that we call, yeah. Because with academics, we lump in research and instruction and public service.
Okay.
And
So things like operations?
Yes.
That is not
It's
considered
outside.
part of administration?
Correct.
Yeah.
Would that be part of our unfunded mandates too?
Yes.
I ask you this every year, and I apologize, but how many dollars worth of scholarships does the state require us to give, that we give each year?
It's right under $3.5 million.
But there's $3.5 million worth of state employees that we're imposed with a
Right.
scholarship, and a good student, I'm sure, but that somebody's got to pay for it, everybody else.
That comes out of that 20%.
Well, it comes out of
Yes.
somebody's tuition dollars too, because somebody has to pay for it, right?
Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, it comes out of the additional 20%.
Got it.
One more question. What is our, for lack of a more articulate, what's our turnover rate? I mean, we'd have to lower 23 positions, but how many professors do we have, or how many instructors or teachers do we have? And what's the turnover? what I'm trying to say is that sounds just awful, losing 20 positions. I suspect
We got about just shy of 1,000 full-time faculty members. All of those positions, the 21 came from vacant lines, people who'd retired or moved on. So nobody individually lost a job. Now, it's still not paying free because those positions are covering certain classes, and Alan went over some of the effects.
how
But
many of that 1,000 are here today that won't be here next year? Retire or get a better job? Bucket?
yeah, in recent years, it's been around 75 or 80 faculty vacancies each year. But we have an aging faculty, so as we go through the next 5, 10 years, we're going to see probably that number go up.
See, that could really help us, is what I'm saying. I mean, we won't have to cut 20, if it's awful and you have to reduce 5 million, you won't have to cut any. You won't have to cut anybody. You just won't be able to rehire all the filled positions.
But then doesn't that affects classes?
Yes.
You know,
That's correct.
Assuming that they're all utilized.
you know, so
Yes.
that, I guess
Yeah.
that was one of my questions was, you know, what happens if you have to reduce the number of classes? Do you simply make the classes larger so that a fewer number of faculty support the course versus the class?
Right, that's one option. Class sizes go up, or you trim back concentrations that are available to students, or we've already removed a lot of the elective courses because of financial aid requirements. So it's really up to the chairs and deans to manage that cut, and we'll do fine, but it's not pain-free when it comes to the provision of the academic program.
I guess what I was trying to say, it doesn't have to be awful. 5 years ago, I looked, and we had 2 accounting courses with 8 in each course
So you put them
at 2 different times, and 16, or I may be a little off,
Yeah.
but combining wouldn't have.
Yeah, to me, combining, and I know larger class sizes is not necessarily optimum, but it's certainly, in my uneducated perspective, better than getting rid of a concentration or something that has been proven
Right.
to be valuable, not just to the community, but to the students.
And let me assure you, we look at class sizes really carefully through the workload process that happens every semester. And so we're looking at that. The issue comes when if one of those vacant lines that you cut was a highly specialized area of coverage, then there's not going to be anybody to teach that. But you're right. We look rigorously every term at who's teaching what, how many students are in the class, are there ways to combine. Now, is there a limit on how big classes can get? Yes, and it varies by the discipline. If it's a writing intensive course, you don't want 50 people in there because the faculty member won't be able to keep up. But there are other courses where you can't do that.
Thank you, Alan, and thank you. Why don't we call the motion, and then we'll discuss, if you don't mind. So is there a motion to approve the 2022-2023 estimated budget and the 2023-24 July budget?
Approve. Second.
Thank you. Now, let's go to additional discussion. I apologize.
No, I was just going to compliment Alan and Dr. McPhee on the slides, handouts that were in there. And I'm sure that Dr. McPhee and Bill Cheston, who's still back there, is going to take this to TEC, to the legislature, to the governor, and say, if you're running a business, Governor Lee would certainly understand this, where would you be deploying resources? And I look down there at the state cost per grad, I think, oh boy, we're getting a big buck for our money there, a big return for our money there. I think I would deploy some more resources there. So anyone that can quickly look at this and get a grasp of the great job y'all are doing and where the state should be deploying some additional funds to take advantage of it.
On that,
We concur, trustee Boyd. Thank you.
on that point, I hope Andrew will put us together a dog and pony show, because the governor's budget's going to be in the middle of the summer. I mean, getting in the budget is the best way to do it, not fighting and getting in it. But that needs to be our dog and pony show. 4 or 5 of those obvious shows, exactly what Tom is addressing.
And I'll just point out one, one more slide that was, excuse me, in your packet was on operation and maintenance costs, which is one of those other categories that I talked about earlier. This analysis is a little dated, but it's one that was done statewide several years ago. And it pretty much looked at every institution and how much you spend out of your own budget per square foot maintaining your campus. And you can see that, once again, we are the lowest on that. Doesn't mean we're not maintaining our campus. You've been on our campus. I think it's twofold. I think it's the way we put capital projects forward for capital maintenance. And, you know, when we see a need and something needs to be corrected, we are actively putting them on there to do that. But we're also very efficient in our facilities. Just looking at our work order system, about 70% of the work orders that come in, we outsource because it's a more cost efficient than doing it in-house. So those are things that we look at on a daily basis to try to keep those numbers low. And as you saw earlier, those numbers I think are low.
Good job, good comments. May we go ahead and call the vote?
Trustee Baker?
Approve.
Trustee Boyd?
Approve.
Trustee Cottle?
Approve.
Chair Delay?
Approve.
Trustee Jones?
Approve.
Chair Smith?
Approved.
Vice Chair Carboyak?
Approved?
Trustee Wright?
Approved.
The motion carries.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all for very good conversation and dialogue on a very tough topic, and thank you very much. That adjourns this committee meeting.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, before you adjourn, I'd just like to remind the trustees of the groundbreaking for the Applied Engineering Building on June 20th at 10:30. That's the building for the Mechatronics Engineering. As we've gotten the additional appropriation, we are ready to move forward. So we'd love for you to be present if you're able. 10:30, June 20th.
Thank you, sir.
Pete, could we give today's presenters, all the faculty, and the success of a school-ending year, a congratulations and a round of applause?
Mr. Chairman, back to you.
I think this morning's activities have concluded. Thank you. Thanks for your time and service. Until you're better paid.